So I think we'll start. Good morning and welcome everyone to this session. 11 o'clock session. My name is Lars Bodum. I'm chairing this session. The title of the session is Inspire Planning and Decision Making. According to the program, we have 5 speakers, but I can see that at the moment we have 3 presentations that are up there, and I would like to know if is Leszek Litwin present? No. And Bruce McCormack? Bruce? Not here.
He was there this morning.
So he might show up.
He might show up.
Yeah. And as you can see, I'm speaking in the mic because all the sessions are taped. That means that we will, you will have to, as a presenter, you'll have to speak into the mic. If we are one presentation short, that means that we'll have a little bit more time. But I'll still try to keep on track with time, and I'll give you a signal or two about how you're doing. And we'll take a couple of questions after each of the presentations. The first presentation is from Bruno Rakedjian, who is from the Commission. And Bruno is talking about improving transparency by the development of structured implementation and information frameworks. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So I am Bruno Rakedjian. I am in charge in the Commission of the reporting under 3 directives: the Drinking Water Directives, the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive, and the Drinking Water Directive in the water industry unit in the DG Environment. So what I am going to present you is a new concept we are developing in the Commission. It's the SIIF project. It is a pilot project under the Urban Wastewater Treatment Directive. It's a new way to organize and disseminate the information, and among information, of course, the reporting information, so at national level, but also at EU level. So this concept, we have elaborated several principles under this concept. The first principle is to focus the information on compliance, and of course it's the core of our work to be sure that member states are compliant with the directives, and it's a core of a task for member states to ensure the compliance with the directives. Another aspect, another principle is to ease the access to the information and to focus this information on user need. The third aspect is to be able to have more up-to-date information, accurate and comparable. The fourth aspect is to have a forward-looking aspect. It is important because we have some not compliant situation in our directive, and what we want to promote through this concept is more information about the not compliant situation and what is ongoing at the member state level. The fifth aspect is to have a more decentralized self-assessment and qualified reporting. The sixth aspect is to be able to have an automatic reporting. It's one of the aspect of the SIIF concept. Now it's a reporting made partially automatic, but with hand assessment. So we have to, we want to promote an improvement of the automatization of this reporting. The seventh aspect and principle is to increase the efficiency of our reporting and to reduce administrative burden, but not only for the member states, but also for the users of the data. If we are able to give an easier access, it means that it will ease the work for the users of the data. And the last aspect is to be able to develop this concept step by step and not to have only a conceptual approach and to want member states to develop all the different principles in the same time. So it's really a step-by-step process. What is ongoing under this principle? So we have adopted some kind of first draft principles, but what is ongoing is a pilot project with 3 member states, Cyprus, Lithuania, and Slovenia. And what we are doing under this pilot project is the development of 3 national websites. Is the first part of this project. The second part is to test automatic exchange between national level and European level. The third part is to be able to link the national information, the EU information system, and especially the EEA map viewer, to the national map viewer to give an access from the EEA map viewer to national specific information. And the last aspect under this project is to improve at EU level the tools we are using. And of course, this is a task for EEA to improve the map viewer and the way to disseminate information. So what we want to promote through this system is a way to make different wastewater data working together. And we have, of course, the core of the data is the reporting information. And what we want to promote is a link with other kind of reporting. And for example, some of the treatment plants are also facilities under the EPRTR directive. So we want to be able to make the link to the information under this directive. We want also to link the project ongoing to the EU funds. So DG Regio give lots of money, especially in the water field, and to build new treatment plants, new collecting system, and new drinking water supply zone compliant system. So we want to be able to link this information. And also to link this information to socioeconomic information, for example, information which now are requested by Eurostat but can be automatically calculated with our reporting database. We want to promote also through the map viewer direct access to legal and juridical information, for example, access to the national regulation. And if in the future we are able to have more interesting data about wastewater, it will be a way to link this data to the existing data. So what is the link between the SIIF and the Inspire directive? The Inspire directive is a basic requirement under the SIIF concept, and you can see here the different principles which we think is under the Inspire directive, and the different development, IT development we have to do, and among this development, of course, the map viewer, the websites, and the data transformation, discovery view, download transformation service are requested by the Inspire directive. And through the Inspire directive, of course, there are existing deadlines. So it's compulsory for member states and also for the EEA to improve the tools to be compliant with these requirements. But we have also other principles, and through these other principle, new IT developments. And we have, of course, the problem of qualification of data. So what we want to do is to improve the automatic way to qualify the information through specific rules and specific IT system. And of course, what we want to do is not only to have access to reporting information, but to be able to have access to all kinds of information related to the wastewater feed, and among them regulations, statistic reports, action plans, and be able to create at EU level hyperlink to give a direct access to national level. So now I'll give you some examples of what we have done with the EA, and you can see it's the old viewer. It was not a very user-friendly viewer. That's why you can see that there were not a lot of visitors. It was not very useful for the users. But now we have a new viewer. It was developed at the beginning of this year, and you can see here the red dot is the not compliant situation, and the blue dot is the compliant situation. So this is the first principle of the SIIF project, is to have this easier access to the compliance of under the directive. So what is ongoing to improve the viewer? You can see here that what we want to promote is to be able to add new layers related to wastewater, and it is, for example, layers about quality of the water bodies, and we will be able to have layers about bathing water or quality of BOD of the rivers, because it is important information, and maybe the bad quality can be linked to the pressure of the agglomeration and to the overflows of the sewer, or bad, not well-treated sewer. What we want to promote too, because we have already the database available for everybody, but it's not very easy to use the information in the database. We have lots of acronyms. What we want to promote for each treatment plant is the access to a specific fiche with all the information available at EU level, with the detailed information about all the content of the database. And another aspect, as I said before, is to promote hyperlink from EEA to national level. And we have now two existing national websites, the French sanitation website and the Greek sanitation website. And we are able now to have from the EEA map viewer with an hyperlink to have a direct access to the fiche of the treatment plant from the EA level in the French sanitation website, but also in the Greek sanitation website. And what is interesting here, under the reporting, we have at EU level reference year 2009 and 2010, but through this hyperlink, we are able to have access to information about reference year 2012 or 2013. So you can see here, this is the performance of the biggest treatment plant in Greece, and you have the performance about the 2013 year. So if here in the existing EEA map viewer you have a not compliant situation, you are able to do access at national level to see the evolution of the situation of the treatment plant. So as a conclusion, the SIIF concept has not only to do with the data, but also to give easy access to all kinds of information. So among them, regulation reports, action plans, existing website, and specific tools. this concept allows to implement public access to environmental information directive and of course inspired directive, and it is another way to implement the new decision regarding the General Union Environment Action Program to 2020. It allows, of course, citizens with an easier access to all the information. It allows citizens, civil servants, researchers, private sector to increase their knowledge and to better do their work, save time and money, increase the quality of our environment, and of course it decreases through this access administrative burden for them. And it is another way to save time for member states and the Commission, because if we have an easier access to the information, we will have less questions from the users, and they will find easier the information through these different websites. And it's another way by dissemination of data to have a feedback from all users to have more accurate data. And of course, it is one of the indicators. It is a way to increase the number of visitors of the EU and national websites. And at the bottom of the slide, you can see this is the French sanitation website, the number of visitors each day. And we have now more than 500 visitors per day, and during the weekend more than 100 visitors per day. That it means that this website is not only used by experts, but also by the general public, and it's perhaps 20% of the use is an access from the general public. So thank you for your attention. If you have any question.
Thank you, Bruno. Are there any questions for Bruno? Yes, Oscar.
I was just wondering the connection between your SIIF and the SIIFs, the Shared Environmental Information System.
It's the SIIFs is one part of the SIIF. So we use several different EU directives, EU decision, and EU communication, and of course SIIFs is one part of the SIIF. So we want to implement the SIIFs through this concept. And if you have access to you have several hyperlinks. It is a free access to test we are making to show what we want to promote.
One more? No, I have one myself. What were the biggest or the most challenging obstacles or barriers you experienced?
Regarding the development of this new concept, for all kind of improvement of dissemination of information, I think that we have now all the tools to do that. We need time to develop the new system. Perhaps the more challenging concept is to automatize the reporting, because it's a reporting every 2 years, and if as regards this information, the urban water treatment information, we have much changes each year, not each day or each month. So we don't know if it's useful to automatize this reporting of we have to follow the way we do now. But what we want to promote too, because we have to decrease administrative burden, and it is the first principle of the SIIF concept is to focus on compliance. Perhaps in the future we will decrease the frequency of reporting as regard the compliance situation, but perhaps increase the frequency as regard the not compliance situation. So it's one of the way we want to follow.
Thank you. Thank you again, Bruno. I have to call again upon Leszek Litwin. He's not. Are you here? Oh, good. Your presentation?
Yeah, it's already here.
It's already there. Okay.
Okay, so I will. Sorry, it's still not my presentation.
No, we couldn't find the presentation, so we will skip Leszek now, but we will get back to Leszek later. The next speaker will be Monica Pasca from Italy, and your presentation should be available. And Monica will speak about the effects of Inspire in urban planning of small towns with an example from Italy. So, please.
This one. This. Okay. Good morning, all. And I would like to show you an application of Inspire, or what we would like to have through Inspire, but we don't have yet. First of all, I just a small definition. I will speak about urban planning at municipal level. And for example, in Italy, we call the urban plan at that level the general local plan, urban planning plan, piano urbanistico comunale generale. It depends also on the region, because in each region now it has different names, just to complicate the problem. And the aim of this plan is to define the terms and limitations for soil use, for building development, land use by agriculture manner, nature protection, industrial location, and whatever it's needed to regulate the use of the land. It should include the prescription from many other territorial plans. For example, in our legislation, we have plans at regional level, and we have plans at the province level before coming to this local plan. And it has to take care of everything prescription and limitation that are in that plans. After this, there are also many sectorial plans regarding hydrogeological problems, Natura 2000 sites definition and protection, industrial development, many sectorial plans that should be taken into account. After that, there is a strong relation with environment, because this type of plan should undergo the strategic environmental assessment, and so all the effects on possible impacts on several themes like water, air, soil, biodiversity, climate, cultural heritage, landscape, population, and so on should be assessed. That means that all this information have to be available to the technicians that are developing both the plans and the assessment. The assessment should be performed during the formation of the plan, not after that. So it's quite important that the two things come together. Sources for information: national authorities, of course, the National Geoportal, the Ministry of Environment for many information as industrial risk zones, natural protected areas, and so on. The water basin authorities for all the sectorial plan on hydrogeological risk, on use of water and other things. The cadastral agency for the parcels that should be also known for the development of the plan. Then we will have the regional authorities with several different departments, and where we have to take the regional plan that has to be taken into account in the planning. The province, local municipality themselves have some data that they should share with the technician doing the development of the plan. So, and these, perhaps they are not all, I've just cited some of the most important authorities that has to be consulted. I want to show you an application of a very small municipality in Italy, and I will focus more on the problems, and at the end I will give some ideas of perhaps some solutions or some steps that should be done. So this small municipality is located in near Rome, near the capital. The area is quite small, it's 1,300 hectares. The population is really small, around 850 inhabitants, but it has undergone a new urban plan in order to do whatever they want to do in their location. The documents that are required by the regional legislation are the same as bigger city. For example, the same documents are required for Rome, 5 million inhabitants, a very different area. So you can imagine the efforts. Of course, it will be hard to have a plan for Rome, but you have also different offices, different administration, different persons on which you can rely on. So these documents are required both for the analysis prior to urban planning and from the strategic environmental assessment. And just to have a list, this is only the first phase of the process to have a plan, and these are all the documents or the analysis that I had to do for this plan. For population, archaeological analysis, soil, everything. You can imagine for just a small town. What are the data that are needed? We started with the topographic basis. I started, okay, I need a basis on which I will put everything. And it's quite reasonable to have, we have a regional basis, a common basis, a scale of 1 to 5,000. And it's available in shape form, in JS form, and DVG format, but not directly, but you have to request it. And even for local authorities, it has to be paid. A reduced fee if they buy the whole territory, but it has to be paid. But after that, this morning we were speaking about licensing. You have to send a signed letter. Then you need to make the bank transfer. Then the letter should be received by the DG of the department in the region. That should be verified, and all this. I met very kind people. I received the data very soon, but after all this process. And the reference system was not the WGS 84, notwithstanding this is the reference for the region. So all the analyses have been done on this basis and represented according to that. For example, the morphology, and in this you have both the topographic basis that has been treated and other sources from literature, for example, for water resources, they have been put on that. Starting from old maps and so trying to locate on the territory these things. I will show you now some examples on the plans that we have used to show what the difficulties were. So this is the regional plan, what the plan that is called Piano Territoriale Paesistico Regionale, and this is a very important thing because the region will check all the new rules of the new plan according to this plan. So this is the result at the end of the manipulation of the data and on the common basis of the CGR. But to have this, there is a website on where you can see the plan. You can download from here, but only in PDF version. But you can ask, and then they will send the shape files by cutting the area of your interest, not outside the boundaries. It will be very hard to do that, to have that, but the reference system was correct. This is what you get from the website. You can imagine, what do you get from that? How can you recognize what happens in a portion of the territory? Even if you go in a deeper detail, this is the basis of the map, and this is what you see. So according to them, you have to see the limitation on your area from that. Another step, more difficult, was the provincial plan. This is the results at the end. But before that, also for that there is a web consultation, but you can have from them, you can ask them the map, and you get a PDF in a better scale instead of the one that you get from the web. And speaking with them, they have the GIS original file, but they were not so good, and so they cannot distribute them. So no reference system on a PDF file, and so we had to digitalize the map, which is a pity because the GIS files are there. I can accept that for an old file where you don't have GIS files, but not for new files. These, for example, are the maps that you see, where you see the very large line there. This is the boundary of a protected area. What is in, what is out? It's not clear. Hydrogeological risk, it was a bit better, perhaps because at national level we started in 1998 after some bad events to collect the area from all the river basin authorities. So we had in a PDF file, in GIS file in shape format, in one case directly from the River Basin Authority website, in the other case from the GeoPortal, national GeoPortal, from other data directly from the Ministry for Environment, and I could not write this down by directly from some friends, not in an official way, so I succeeded in having those data, but this is not the way to work. And to complicate, you can see, just to have a look, also for this small area, it was on the boundary of two different districts, water districts, and the boundary of them superpose. So there is an area which is in the two districts, and these are all the sectoral plans that have to be checked. But some of them, even if approved after 2010, so one can imagine that it's available in a digit form, you have plans like this, from which you have to take your data and to verify your plan. These are other data that you have to use. So quite difficult. Air quality is another example. It's a regional plan. Data available just in PDF format, but in this case we have tables refer to the administrative units, so it's easy to transform this data to a graph if you want, even if it would be better if you already had that in a digit form, not to copy them again. All new data, we try to put it on the reference map that we have chosen. So zoning, for example, transport lines. In this case, we have the sewage lines that we took from all the project that was at the municipality offices. These projects were very old, so for some of them, of course, it was necessary to digitalize them again. But some projects were in the years 80s, so it's natural. Just to show you a particular problem, I don't know if I have to laugh or to cry, we have at least 3 official boundaries of the municipality. It doesn't matter for the small variations above there, but if you look down here, we have an official boundary from the official statistic office, national office, but of course it is a very small scale, so there can be some errors. Then you have the boundary from the official regional plan, so the CTR. Then you have the boundary from the cadastral agency, and you have also the boundary that were well known from in the municipality. So what happens there? We were lucky because that area is just an area to be protected, both on the side of one municipality and on the other. So it's not a big problem, but we have to decide who has to plan what can be done in that area. Evaluation. So several situations have been identified. So there are some data with some relevant metadata and correct reference system. Few. Digital data with or without metadata, but with different reference system. Available to the websites, available through direct contact, free or with charge, not available in digital format at all, or other cases. A lot of work could have been avoided if reference data were available, at least on the same reference system. What can Inspire do? Some of you know that I've been involved in Inspire since the beginning, so I believe in it. So I think that it should continue its effort at the EU and national level, but it's important to disseminate the knowledge of the principle and infrastructure at the level of public and private technicians, those that are not Inspire experts and are not the public people. So we have a word between these two worlds that should be care of and should know the instrument and should be told how do they have to prepare the information from now on. So there are many people that disseminate data and should be aware of the enormous potential and not jealous of their data, because now still we have people. Of course, we should tutelate the work. We should consider all they've done. I'm not saying that everything should be distributed and reused without any license and without nothing, but it's not possible that some data you can have only the PDF or the paper just because they don't want to give you the GIS information, and you have to do a work again. Just to conclude, a lot has been done, a lot has to be done. All administrative levels are important and are different in the different countries, all over Europe. And Inspire, as I told before, can start to go out of the expert circles of the GIS experts and go to other types of technicians that have to use and have to improve the system. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica. Any questions for Monica? Also, that's okay.
You're welcome.
It's not a question, it's a comment. Most of the time now we got the legislation online, and you know in every country, well in the native language obviously, what is the law, what are the regulations. I think what Inspire should be doing now that we're in a circle of revising it is to consider that any information that condition or limit the right of the owner of land should be made public domain. Yeah. That is, in my opinion, one of the major messages that came across Monica, and that I more or less the same idea for France, because actually all this information that goes to the spatial plan and to the municipal plan, at the end of the day, limit the right of using the land you own, or the land you use, because you can be hiring it. And that should be made as a public domain data with no license at all.
Yes.
Because it's just give the citizen the knowledge of what they can do or can't do. And that is, in my opinion, one of the key things that the next step of Inspire should be doing. Perhaps not the next, but the next after the next. But this is the direction to which we should be going.
Thank you, Francois, for your comment. I really agree. And I just want to add, not only have the information available to the public on the web, but in such a way that they can read this information, because the information is there from the administration, but then you try to learn to understand what you can use on your land. It's impossible in such a way that it's useful.
Now, Monica, is there any questions more? Monica, you are clearly a spokesperson for these small communities and people who are maybe dealing with all the problems in the end. Are there any? Do you feel that there is more people that are aware of this and speaking about it?
I'm not aware of it, and perhaps in some areas there is. Some technicians are, some not, but at the moment it depends, unfortunately, on single people. There is not a general movement, but there are single people, and unfortunately we're not like France, because they are several steps ahead from us with the GeoPortal for urbanism, but there are a movement, but of separate people. I think we have to put these people together and to spread this type of information.
And that's why we are here.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you, Monica. So now I've got your presentation, so I'll try to put it in.
First, I would like to make a statement that despite of these technical problems, I believe in Inspire and in new technology in planning.
Inspire is not a conference management
So we should be ready for the next speaker, who is Rakedjian, and he will talk about Inspire as a flame of spatial planning revolution, land use implementation in Poland. So please.
Small correction, my name is Maciej. There are three authors of this presentation, so I'm one of them. Rakedjian is present in the room, so if there will be question to him, he is here. These three persons were implementing land use in the government of Poland. So in this paper we have summarized our experiences from this last 4 or 5 years. I will present here some brief summary of wider paper. The main idea of this presentation is that Inspire causes many problems for public administration in this domain, land use, but it brings also some new chances for improvement of this kind of public policy which spatial planning is. So it is for us very interesting period to start implementing Inspire, but of course we are on the beginning of the way. Let's start from such conclusion. First conclusion. Many people, or quite a lot of people, think that administrative system is hierarchical, and of course, if it would be like that, it would be quite easier to implement some systems. Hierarchy is good for any system. But, and many people think that parallel to this administrative hierarchical administrative system, there exists a hierarchical planning system for spatial planning and for economic planning as well somehow. And that there are similar relation between planning methodology, planning systems, planning levels, and levels of power. But in fact, it is not so. In fact, the competences last year were downshifted, so they came down, and the responsibilities are due to the rule of subsidiarity came down. So the authorities of each level try to get rid of some competences and some responsibility and give it down to lower level, and sometimes even to private people. Many fields of public policies go down sometimes for this level, which has no power to deal with these problems, and sometimes it happens so with planning. And from practical point of the a unit of territory, it is so that this scheme is upside down. So many actors play the game on the same plot, on the same place, and influence the changes there. And they may occur three situations. That first situation that individual decisions, spatial decisions, or individual behaviors, because sometimes it's not a kind of decision, but only special behavior, and that these behaviors or decisions are controlled by the system, by administrative procedures, by spatial planning procedures, and this is the ideal rule, which happened not often. That this system have many holes, many places when it's not that it's possible to go through without administrative control over behaviors and over decisions. So this ideal situation from the point of spatial planning is not the only one. There are two other. Somehow positive is the situation number two, where decisions, including decision to solve some conflicts, are optimized through negotiations, through compromise, through coordination from the point of view of public policies. We say it's a multi-level governance model. So many authorities which activities concern some territory try to coordinate their actions. But it's usually out of the system. It's usually the goodwill to do this. And very often there is a third case when to achieve good results, the decisions or behaviors should be self-tempered by the decision maker, or by citizen or by company which want to make some intervention in space. And this may occur when the awareness of the situation is proper, is on the high level. With this situation needs knowledge. So for this, especially for this situation described here as number 2 and 3, there is necessary to have a good information flow. So people or bodies which are well informed can behave like this in this model, like this situation 2 and 3. Situation number 1 is ideal but very rare. Let's concentrate on this situation 1. this is not so that public policies control behaviors of investors. For example, the reason is, one of the reasons is that the methodology of spatial planning is rather old. It's not compliant with nowadays needs and conditions, especially with timing. Authorities have to make decisions very fast, and spatial planning procedures are from the past, when these procedures last too long. So in Poland we have examples. We have many legal additional procedures which allowed the authorities to escape from the main procedure, to do something very fast out of the planning system and so on. So this is all. Some people say that it's also a part of planning system, but it is not this what we call land use. But of course it's legal. And another reason is that there is competitiveness among cities, among authorities, due to some economic reason. Well, maybe crisis or not crisis, but people, communes have their own goals to encourage some investments, so they try to be flexible, even in the case of land use, because they are not sure the future. It's a third matter, we call it fluent times, that no one is sure of the future, so planning, it's not a good situation for planning as well. And due to all these reasons already mentioned, is a high political pressure on the system to allow public authorities, especially on local level, to do what they want actually. So they want this time, this moment, and to be very flexible. So of course it is as well not good for the planning system as a stable way of coordination. Now the cases 2 and 3, which I already mentioned, they need some improvement in information flow, and due to this, I think, from our point of view, and for not maybe for all planners, but this is the question which makes high hopes of planners. We have high hopes with these issues, because we have done three promising effects of this. I will call it ABC. First of all is that the flow of information make possible the better performance of planning as a job. Let's say we can have better access to that data, so we can develop new methods of planning. So our plans will be better, so more attractive for customers, for public authorities, or even for businesses. The situation B, it's influence on decision of authorities. Due to better information and better flow of information, the coordination of tasks in the space can be better, more effective, and of course we can support multi-level governance. So briefly, the planning bodies can make services for many levels of government at once in one plan, not only for commune, local, but it can be combined with many other bodies, and even with private companies which have some intention for locations in the territory. And situation C, there is a possible higher possible influence on behaviors, on practical behaviors. So this opened the field for deeper or better public participation in the planning process, so to the improvement of our public awareness and more responsible behaviors from the point of view of smaller bodies, from citizens, and as it's concerned entrepreneurs, companies, for more responsible decisions. So we can say that these three cases may make a very good opening for the changes in planning. So we can call it a kind of revolution, because we can do something with others, not alone as it is now or it was before. So in fact, it's a revolution which is very post-industrial, which is very open for participative democracy, not only for hierarchical system of power. So it's going up in line with other social tendencies nowadays. So all these changes open the field for deeper democracy, for methods which are now only experimental. ICT open the way that this kind of planning, participative planning, can be wider. And what then may happen? So maybe these procedures, when it's hypothesis that some innovative methods we use in small extent now, due to access to data, can be mainstreaming, so maybe become a part of the official planning system. Now it is kind of romantic task of some planners, but not happen everywhere. It opens the field for development of new tools and methods of planning. It's also promising. These methods need some improvement because it is maybe it's painful for some, but these methods are 50 years old, most of them. So maybe this is not general. Were improved, of course, but generally this method of planning come from the 50s or 60s or even 30s. So some planners are not open for these changes, but during these 4 years we observe the growing openness for such changes and even some hopes for this. And of course this kind of revolution need to share tasks between levels of administration. In case of Poland, there are 4 levels of administration. Yeah. So there was a task we described in the presentation, what we done in the ministry. So there are several stages, and now I will come to obstacles. What are main obstacles for these changes today? First of all, there is the access to reference data is very problematic now due to some institutional, let's say, defense, let's say, to provide data. Data providers are not ready to participate in the system. They try to be tricky somehow, but it's not effective. There are many, the variety of approaches. There's metadata process in Poland shows that some cleanup is needed. There is no unified methodology, so in each commune there's another situation. The legal environment is unclear for these changes, and there is a risk of low effectiveness because of this innovative approach. So the end conclusions. nowadays, spatial planning system, especially spatial planning system in Poland, is highly disordered and unstable. But Inspire ideas may in fact help create a better, more operational planning model. But this model should be based on public involvement, and it's possible due to these new tools brought by Inspire through the easier access to information. So this opened the way for wider cooperation between levels of power and also with economic sectors, and also, what is most important, open for involving citizens into planning system. So a lot has to be done, but perspectives are promising, is the conclusion of this. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we are behind schedule, so there are no time for questions this time. So you have to discuss with Maciej afterwards. So we'll go to the next presenter, which will be Dursun Yildirim Bayar. And Dursun will speak about proposal for a governance model for effectively operating urban information systems. And he's from Turkey. So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk about the governance structure of Turkey and the model offer. First of all, if we take a look at the agenda, we'll talk about the general governance structure, local governance structure, and our Directorate of General of GIS, Urban Information Systems and Governance and Problems, and finally the model proposal. If we talk about Turkey, we'll see a big picture of nearly 8 million population and the area of 800,000 kilometers square and 81 provinces. We have 1,365 municipalities and 30 metropolitan municipalities. So these all mean a big data of geographic and urban information. In this big data conjuncture, our General Directorate of GIS has been established in 2011 in the duties of establishing the national STI coordination and also making necessary regulations for the urban information systems and dissemination of these. The general strategy of the NSDI has been determined, a roadmap has been determined, and if you look at the urban information systems, the urban information systems form the kitchens of an NSDI, so they are very important to focus on these. So when we look at the local government structure of Turkey, as the municipalities, we have an elected leadership of 30 metropolitan municipality, 51 provincial, 782 district, and 451 town municipality. And another local government structure is the provincial special administration of 81 provinces, but they are seconded leadership. So when we come to governance for urban information system, we have a dilemma. It's governance for UIS or UIS for governance. If we take the urban information system on hand, it's just a solving tool for the municipality or local government. It's not just automating the daily procedures, routines, but it's not limited to this. It says social and economic effects on all services supplied by the municipalities. So the urban information system supplies a services space on which the municipality can handle its services to its citizens. And it acts as a Libra on supplying and demanding of the services. And governance is the establishment of policies. It needs to monitor and monitor the implementation by the groups of the organization. It includes mechanisms required to balance the powers. If we combine the urban information system and governance, so this time we need to make the tools and application and policies together, implemented by each other. And for good governance, we need the transparency, the rule of law, efficient public services, and democracy and good civil rights. For supplying good governance in a municipality service, we can supply efficient public services by the urban information system, also transparency by urban information system. We need to make the rule of law by the authorities, and finally the democracy and good citizenship rights can come by itself. If you look at the characters of an ideal urban information system, we have lots of adjectives here. It should be user-friendly, acceptable, adoption, sustainable, affordable, interactive, and many of these can be added here. And in order to supply these characteristics, we have some problems, in fact. Most important ones, we can say that uninterested executives of the local governments and investments, and also absence of a standard structure of management. And on this slide, we handle a concrete problem. For example, in Turkey, some municipalities organize their urban information systems under an IT department. The IT departments can supply beneficiary to an urban information system department unit, but sometimes this makes the urban information system unit at the background. So this makes another dilemma. Can you benefit, or you may not get benefit of this? Also, there are lots of departments that take the charge of the urban information system in Turkey. We can count many of them: planning, JS department, strategy department even. And when we come to our model proposal, we have made a model proposal within the Urban Information System Standards project. It was in this model offer, it's the first step. It includes the first step, and in addition of that, we offer two other technical and organizational offers. And here we have the key terms of our model. I would like just to mention three of these: the government for all, participation, and the key technology. We called our cloud computing. In step one, we offer the municipalities to establish their urban information system units. A different or larger organization for the metropolitan, and smaller as a section, for example, for the municipalities. The first goal of this step is establishing an advisory board in this organization. It's the most important strategy. It should include the urban information system consultant, a higher executive of the municipality, and other managers from other sections. In second goal, we need to obtain internal support of the other units. For example, the planning or IT department should get support and adoption of the new unit. In goal 3, there should be some regulations made inside of the municipalities units, such as the policies of sharing data, such as security. And goal 4 is the human resources. We cannot think the human resources without governance, so it's a very important part of this model. And goal 5, we need to make legitimate regulations for support human resources model also. So wage, salaries, and vocational standards, etc. There are lots of things to do over this goal. With this goal, we complete step 1, and when we come to step 2, we are offering a technical support. What can we do by the central government, we are asking. And if we establish a geospatial cloud, will it be helpful for a dissemination of urban information systems for the municipalities? Because there are lots of municipalities who cannot manage or get the best resources for establishing an urban information system. It will provide technical support as well as decreasing the costs of software, hardware, and standardization. If we handle the cloud for 100 municipality as a game tree, the values are approximate, by the way, it will cost about 10 million euros for 100 municipality. So, if we establish and demand the cost from the 100 municipality, we would have a risk of not taking attention of the municipalities. But if we do not demand the cost from the 100 municipality as the General Directorate of GIS, probably 100 municipality will join. And the other section, if there is no cloud, 100 municipality will spend 15 million euro. Or none of the municipalities may establish the urban information system. So we have a total risk of 5 million euro spending from the overall public budget. Sorry. If we enlarge the game tree for 1,000 municipalities, then the cost of the establishing cloud will be about 15 million euro for 1,000 municipalities. Then it comes to a marginal state for 1,000 municipalities, and they wouldn't care about paying or not paying. So if you even ask them to pay, then it will probably gain the 100% attention. If there's no cloud, it's a serious amount. 1,000 municipalities will spend 150 million euros. And also none of them would make. The bigger risk here, we have 135 million euro more from overall public budget. Okay. The last step here we have the participation part. We offer that participation will make an urban information system disseminate better and increase the adoption. So if we establish all the technical side, geospatial cloud, and organizational parts of the municipality, we need to make use of it. So it will probably enhance the governance. And when we look at all steps, they should complete each other. None of them completes the characters of ideal GIS. So we offer that they should be used in comprehension. And as General Directorate of GIS, we are conducting lots of projects like through orthophoto producing, And we also developed the standards database model. We are starting to conduct online JS education for basic skills. Also, we are determining the vocational standards, and we are starting for a POC of cloud computing. Also, we have the coordination duty. So it's a discussion, in fact, the question mark indicates what else a central government can supply for a local government. It's a discussion subject, in fact. And as concluding, urban information system is one of the most important tools for a local government in order to provide its governance. Our key technology here is cloud computing for dissemination over local governments, and so these are effective services supplied by an urban information system. Thank you.
Thank you, Dursun. Time is running, so we have to jump to the next speaker. I'm sorry. Any discussions, any questions can be put to Dursun during our lunch break. So, Bruce, you'll be the last one. And you'll have to put your presentation in.
Put it into the...
It should be in, okay.
I know where you find it.
Mm-hmm. So it's Bruce McCormack. No, it shouldn't be copy. Okay. Still not there.
I need to find it.
Just 1 minute. In the meantime, I can present the title of your speech, which is Persuading Senior Decision Makers to Invest in GI and GeoTechnologies. And we are almost there. So please go ahead, Bruce.
Which is the... Hi, thanks for that. Investing in geospatial technologies, persuading decision makers to invest. This is a problem that I'm sure just about everybody in the audience here has faced. I know I can look and see some of them that I know absolutely have faced this, and I personally have also faced this same kind of issue. I'll be as quick as I can. I'm the president of EUROGI, the European Umbrella Organization for Geographical Information, and that's the hat I've got on here. So I'll just give you one slide, brief information about us. I'll make very quick introductory comments, and then you see 27 tricks. Now, my idea is these have come out of my own personal experience and of my colleagues, and also from roundtables that I've chaired in a Canadian conference earlier this year. And then I would have hoped that there would be a bit of time for interchange and discussion. In the case of the 27 tricks, I will actually just say very little about each of them because there's not enough time, obviously, but I just throw them out. The presentations will be available later so one can see them. EUROGI, our aim is to promote the widespread and effective use of geographical information in Europe. Quite straightforward. We have different kinds of members. There's in our stand downstairs you can find more information which countries they come from, but many of the countries across Europe. The kind of activities we do, we participate in mainly European Commission funded projects. We have regular meetings with different different directorate generals, share information, networking, and then finally down there, just to mention that in October in Berlin, we have a conference, 2-day conference, which is taking place at the same time as a fair called Intergeo. There's programs sitting in the front there if anybody's interested in that. So that's the advert over with. Introductory comments. We and they to we and we. Often the experiences, some of us might be lower down in a hierarchy of a business or a government department, and it's kind of them and it's us, and we've got to convince them. A key objective is to become us, a we and we. So in other words, the top decision makers and ourselves begin to start thinking in a like kind of manner. Another point is the ways, the tools, the techniques, the ways in which you could persuade these top people is obviously context specific. Not all of the things that you're about to see will apply in all context or even some context, but context is important. Another one is timing is absolutely critical. You can have a brilliant idea presented at the wrong timing, the conditions are not just right, and it gets absolutely nowhere. Alternatively, the timing can be excellent. Just as an example, there's an island, which is where I'm personally based. We've had huge financial crisis. It's been absolutely dreadful, but it's created a wonderful opportunity for GI, because the crisis is so deep that we got rid of staff, there's less budgets and all the rest of it, and it's created opportunities for people like us to get the ear of the high-level decision makers, because the timing is exactly right. We're in such deep crisis. I was going to use another word, but we're in such deep crisis that that's just one example. I'll go quickly through these kind of tricks, and I'm not going to talk in great detail about them, but as I mentioned, these are coming out of experience of myself, members, and others. Return on investment. On Monday morning, Erogi ran a 90-minute workshop on return on investment. I know it was being video recorded. I won't go into any further details, but I presume that's all going to become available. But return on investment is obviously one of the tools, the tricks. If you can do it and show it to the key decision makers and the numbers are all right, then it's to some extent can help sway their decision making. Just one point which I will make regarding return on investment, and we made it quite strongly on the Monday morning 90-minute workshop, is certain people like me and others we know in the audience think return on investment, oh my goodness, this is a huge, big, complex thing. It isn't. It can be a very quick kind of trick, which is done on one sheet of an Excel spreadsheet. I obviously can't go into any details, but all I'm saying here is if you can show a good return on investment, that's obviously pretty good. Cost avoidance, it's not quite the same thing, because in a ROI, for example, we're going to have these costs. Cost avoidance, which can come into the benefit equation of a ROI, but you could show the senior decision makers, if we do X, Y, Z with a GI component, we actually don't have to spend this money in future. So it's a slightly different point, but it's worth noting. Focus on decision makers' personal goals. Now, I know absolutely from perspective, the decision makers, everybody's got egos, but they've got the egos, they've got to deliver, they've got a department or sections or business units or whatever it is underneath them. They want to deliver for that. So if you know what their goals are, their delivery goals are, and you specifically build your case around that. Pilot study, in a particular thing that we developed, which was €500,000 upfront expenditure before we got any benefits coming back. It's a GI-based thing in the planning field. We actually did a little pilot study, which cost €12,000. We thought it was going to cost 10, but it ended up costing 12,000 euros. And that little pilot study was excellent, because people like me used that little pilot to actually go to very senior people and say, look what can happen this is 12,000 euros worth. Actually, there's 500,000 coming down the track. But anyway, that's another matter. But the pilot drew them in, it enticed them, and so on. So meeting legislative requirements is another obvious thing. Is you can go to the senior people, and I've certainly done it, and I've used Inspire for this. It said, we've got to do it. We've got to do it. We don't maybe want to do it, but we got to do it. So big picture, small steps. Often the senior people get very worried. You come with a big, complicated picture and it's all too grand, and they kind of back away because the risks, particularly bearing in mind that they don't understand our sector very well. That's the kind of almost underlying bottom line in many cases. So come with little incremental things which can give greater flexibility. They can stop it if they want to. They can change direction, whatever. One-on-one interaction matters. I mentioned that pilot just a little while ago. I personally, for example, took that little pilot, and it took us many months, over many months, sat down in the office with like top of the department kind of people, and there's only them and me, and we sit in front of their computer and we play with, in this case, the pilot. And what it means is that there's no audience like this. They don't feel embarrassed to ask stupid questions, and it gives them time to think and to explore. So if you can get a one-on-one with some kind of tool or help, that's great. Exploit the opportunities of a crisis. That's essentially what I was saying before, a good example. A crisis can come from the big deal problem for a whole society, like Ireland through our desperate financial crisis, or it can come because of an European Commission court, ECJ court judgment, which is not looking good, and a way out. But whatever the crisis might be, exploit a crisis. There's always opportunities in a crisis. High-profile person to make the case. Somebody like me might be a little minor figure in a huge, big organization, but in fact, if you can get somebody who is becomes a champion for you and they're well respected and high level, use them. Use them because they make the case for you. Business plans. Every organization has some kind of strategic or business plan or something. A good way of affecting the high-level decision makers down the line. You get even sometimes it's one word or a phrase or a sentence in a business plan. That becomes the term that I use as a hook. Becomes a hook on which you can hang your subsequent lobbying and influencing. Being at the cutting edge, sometimes this is context specific. Some high-level people want to feel, wow, we're right here, we at the cutting edge. Play on that. Other times, that's the wrong kind of approach, because anything at the cutting edge for a manager can be more risky because it may or may not work. So the second point there, not rocket science, not breaking new ground. In other words, what you go to them and you say, there's nothing new here. This is just data that's available out there. It's technologies we've already got or we can easily get. There's nothing new here. There's very low risk here. Let's just do it. Let's just try. So another one is do one project well. It's excellent to have something under your belt. You could show them, look, it can work. This is great. It can work. And it may not be your project, but it could be, like I think I might say France in their spatial planning system has been looking at the Irish system, and the Irish system was used by the French, in the French government, to persuade high-level decision makers to go down a very similar route. So it's something done well in Ireland, used somewhere else, I think. Understanding the cultural context, it's quite, I mean, many of us are technical people. We have a technical kind of cultural mindset, whereas the decision makers operate in a different milieu with different mindsets, and you must try and understand, if possible, that particular mindset. Branding, it's often quite good to build a brand, and you can sort of rely on that brand as a shorthand, which which means a whole lot of things, and it quickly and easily communicates hopefully some good things to the senior people. Understand the value chain. You must know where GI and geotechnology sits in a whole value chain, starting from whether it's a piece of legislation or community demand or a political statement in a political program of government, whatever it is, understand the value chain, use the crowd. Sometimes there may be possibilities of reducing costs and gaining a little bit of credibility for an organization. Yeah, we participation, openness, all this kind of stuff. If it's possible to use crowd type sources of information and ways of doing things, do it. I could talk more about these things. Bang, bang. Step 1, get their interest. Step 2, drive home, consolidate. In other words, sometimes you give a little taster, and then maybe a week or 2 weeks later, bang, you come back again. So you soften them up with step 1, and then you actually, your main punch is actually coming later, and you know exactly what you're doing to do that. Pride. Build on their feeling of, they want to look good. I'm just summarizing here. They want to look good. Shame. Now, we've actually used shame as a way. You've got to be very careful with this. But anyway, we've used shame as a way of kind of doing things. And essentially how I've used this way, is like with managers of local authorities, is, very nicely, I mean, it's not done horribly, but very nicely, you say, well, that one, and that one, your equivalents and other local authorities, they're doing it. Like, you're going to be left behind. And if the data's coming out in a geographical mapping sense, there's a big blank hole in your municipality, you don't want that. My goodness, the response has always been extremely quick to fill the gap. They don't want that kind of thing. Highlight the demand. Obviously, emphasizing there's a big need out there. I mean, obviously, you must have your facts right. That's that. The revenue stream, focus again on the revenue that is likely to come in, the challenge to solve a problem. Senior people often they claim the responsibility for solving a particular problem, where actually it's been suggested by somebody else, but problem solving. What are their problems and how can they be solved? And then you let them take the responsibility, the kudos, the praise for that. Neighborhood effect. It's quite useful if you are on a one-on-one situation with senior people and we talk about mapping type stuff. You use an example of their own home if you happen to know where they live, because they're really interested in that and they know their area and it grabs their interest quite often. That's just an example. Build on where you are now. It's actually, that's a bit related to an earlier point, but you take where you are and it's that incremental kind of stuff. Use different communications and media. Sometimes you can get to people in different ways. There might be a PowerPoint, there might be sitting interacting with a geo browser, on his or her laptop. That's another way of doing it. There's presentations and there's different ways. Just think about which is the best way to actually do it. And the last one there, this is my 27th, I think it is. The last one there is just do it. To forget all these decision makers. If you've got a chance, just do it. And there's something I've been involved with which has ended up, we've won prizes and all sorts of things for a government department, and if you go into the reception of the head office of the government, there's the award sitting on the wall, and the Secretary General is very proud of it. It actually just started with 2 of us just doing it without any permissions from any of these top people. Now, you've got to be careful with that, but it's just another way of getting things to happen, and then you just effectively show them. And often the decision maker, they don't know where the responsibility lies for this new kind of thing to happen, so they don't get all up and tight about it. They just, oh, well, it must have been another Secretary General who authorized that kind of thing. You don't say anything about this, but anyway, oh yeah, and you just present it, and then they get hooked on it, and so you carry on. Now, I would hope, but I don't know whether we've got time, but I was running so fast through all this stuff, I was hoping for a kind of discussion amongst us, because I know there's people sitting here, I can see them, who've got lots of experience in doing this kind of stuff. Thanks.
Let's do it this way. We'll take some comments and some questions, but those of you who are really hungry for lunch are welcome to leave the room. So anyone who wants to discuss this with Bruce? 27 quick ones.
28. I've got a 28. When you are facing a decision maker, I think you need to know also what are the people around him, and sometimes it's quicker to go through a guy you know that knows the decision maker, convince the guy you know, and then he convinces the decision maker. So it's, you know, kind of ping pong way, or a BR way to go to the decision maker. The other comment I think is, well, showing what is done next door is very often a good way of convincing your boss or the decision maker, because they don't want to be left aside compared with his colleagues. So that is the one-to-one relation which is important, so that he's not ashamed that he doesn't know, but afterwards he knows, and then he can demonstrate to the others, I know, and this is what we can do.
Sorry, the first point that you made there is actually one of number 14 or something. It was using somebody else to get to that guy. So, yeah.
And just to round it up, a 29, talking their language, and a 30, don't be too technical.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, and also be careful with this kind of tricks. They might know it, and I'm not a high-level decision maker, but if I see that somebody tries to play that games with me, well, then it becomes really difficult for him. Do it carefully, not too obvious. So it's respect them. Give them a little bit of respect they deserve.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, this is a bold, bland, in-your-face presentation. You don't do it. You do it subtly.
I'm a bit neurotic to this NFP, to this kind of communication games. If they become too obvious, this can be horribly backfire.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll leave it there, and thank you, Bruce, again.
Thank you.
So this ends this session. So thank you everyone for participating, and now we'll have lunch downstairs somewhere. I don't know where. You'll find it.